But if the other guy screws up, will he redo it for no cost to you, or would you have to cover the cost? As in, do they have their own PI? Where is the risk for you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have to think about that. Yeah.
You probably have to look at it, but I mean, the CIS is irrelevant because you deduct CIS from them, and then you just pay that on your tax bill. So that's irrelevant. It's just a time that, I mean, if Jez is doing your accounts, it's probably included that anyway, hasn't he?
I've not done the shift yet. I'm waiting for my accountant to hurry up with my end of year tax return. As soon as he's done it and push send, I'm like, done. Bye.
It shouldn't have any financial implications. It's just the time it takes for whoever's doing the admin side of it.
Okay.
Am I right? I am right.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It's an admin. You know, it's another thing to actually. I think Gary's saying it's another thing to think about, to worry about. On top of all the
can
other
I ask a
things.
question? I don't know if anyone's going to know it. Sorry, it's a bit of a. I digress a little bit, but the domestic reverse charge of VAT and CIS, are they now combined in one? Does anyone know?
Yeah, it's a pain in the arse, Nick.
Yeah. Well, so I was under the impression that now we zero rate for anyone who's not the end user, who's VAT registered and CIS registered, we zero rate it, and that is a new tax code of domestic reverse charge. However, I sent that as an invoice to a customer, and she said, "Oh, can I have a CIS breakdown of materials and labour?" And I said, "There's no VAT on it." So it's just thrown me.
Yeah, if it's CIS, it still stays the same as normal.
Right.
You do a split on your materials and labour, and the CIS only applies on the labour.
Right.
But any of your clients that are CIS and you charge VAT on now fall under the VAT reverse.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing. So you don't need to break down materials and labour.
No, don't need to break it down at all because the VAT is already on there on a reverse.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So she was wrong. Yeah, it just fucking confused the hell out of me.
But that goes on to what Gary said as well. It's not really, we don't really worry too much when we price about VAT, CIS, PAYE, because it all comes in at the end. But it's saying you've got to keep the back of your mind. Cash flow mainly.
Yeah. It's all got to be paid at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's just the admin sort of financial side of it. If I did subby out jobs, I'd need to kind of make it. I just for my own peace of mind, I'd like to make sure that I know where I stand. Because I don't want to, like Damien says, 25%. That's fair enough. But then what happens if there's like a big wedge of that just sort of disappears into tax, some sort of thing that I've never heard of, and then I get like £2 from it. Great.
No. So the only actual cost implications will be, based on the profit you make from it, you'll be liable to corporation tax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and it only works if that sort of approach only works if they're giving you a fixed fee.
Okay.
Yeah,
as in you know what your costs are going to be.
Yeah.
I would try and avoid subbing out on day rate because it gets messy, and then if you've got a query with your customer turns around and said, "Hang on a minute, it took you 4 days, you were only there 3.5 days," you end up fighting, trying to justify their time, and you've not even seen it. So I would always try and keep it at a fixed price, and then you can judge based on who it is. If you've worked with them lots before and it's never been an aggro, you can say, well, actually, do you know what? It doesn't matter that, I might make slightly less on them, but it's going to, ultimately you're looking for the profit. It's got to cover any involvement that you have to have with it. Well, if you're setting it up and you want to make £100 an hour, if someone's going to need you to hold their hand every step of the way, then, if it's going to take 5 hours, it should be 500 quid of profit or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Just for that.
Okay. So because there's a bit in what you're saying there, Gary, that I think I was talking to Brian with earlier in the week or last week, and I think it does apply to us all that we've got to understand our business model, what it is, and where it's not necessarily for where it is now, but where I want it to be in the future. So this concept of modelling, to me, it's been a key to every single business that I was involved in pre-coaching, and I like to get into into my clients, is you utilizing the budgeting model. You're starting to think about where, how is it your business is going to grow to where you want it to be. So if I just try and show this up visually, you've got, so so this is your business here. As it grows, I don't know why that did that, but it tends to grow in steps. So each one of these steps here is a slightly different model to the one below it. The actual growth itself is more like this, but during this period here, we're playing this game. During this period here, we're playing this game. During this period, we're playing this game. So we've always got to be seeing, we've got to understand or model each of these. And as it grows, it becomes more leveraged. There's more people, and more processes as we grow here. But if we're playing this game, we've got to have one eye on the next game. If we're playing this one, we're going to have one eye here. Ultimately, if we're down here and we can see what this one looks like, it's even better, because that allows fast growth to that point. Okay, so you want to be seeing as far forward as you can. Now, ultimately, that potentially could be 5 to 10 years. If you can see what your business looks like when it's turning over, £1 million, 2 million quid, that really helps you move towards that. If you get here, and your business, you're still thinking here, then you're in trouble, because that's when you'll lose money. That's when the turnover is going forwards, but your model, you're not ready for it, and you'll start making mistakes. And the things that you're saying about CIS and things like that is because you're still down here, but your game is up here.
You move over, mate.
Okay, so we've got to be thinking, what does this next stage look like for us? And I think the first thing, let me just show you my I'm not sure if you guys have seen sort of the budget. I know I've done it with some of you, but not everybody. So it's worth just going through again. Hopefully, I know some of you are on your phone, so this might be a bit small. But so it comes back to your basic profit and loss account. Okay, so my sales income. So what's my total income, my direct costs, the gross profit, my overhead costs, and my net profit. So that pretty much for any business, no matter how big or small you are, that's your top level. That's really what the MD of the company should be looking at. Okay, so that's the base. So it doesn't matter what you do, it will fall down into pretty much very similar bands to that. The key, though, to me is this sheet here, which is how does our income get generated? How does this figure here, so these figures here, how do these actually make up? So for all of us, we're either selling parts, supplies, goods, or we're selling time. Always think of time as just being a part. You've got a stock of time, which is your people, or yourself and your team, and then you sell that time on. If you're selling goods, you've got a stock of goods that you buy in, and then you sell that stock on. So your ability to understand your units, how many units you sell of time or goods per week, the average sale value, so what are you charging out at, gives you your total revenue, and then your cost of those products, any other costs that are associated with that. You have to understand this stuff. You've got to be able to sit down and say, right, if my business was turning over twice what it is now, I've got to see the relationship between this, my units, my average sale value, my total revenues, and my costs. Okay, and it's far better to play with that in a spreadsheet like this before it happens than it is in, say suddenly you doubled your marketing, your marketing suddenly worked, you got loads of leads, you're doing loads and loads of work, because I guarantee you in a year's time, you'll have been really, really busy, but there'll be no profit at the end of it. Because you haven't understood how the mechanics of your business works. You just end up throwing people and resource at it, and then you just sit there at the end of the period and then hope that you've actually made some money. And as we learned in the book club book, hope isn't a strategy. Even 2,500 years ago, with the Chinese, it wasn't a strategy then, and it still isn't a strategy now. You've got to plan this out. You've got to see it and visualize it and understand where your costs, how they're made up, how your income, and then you can start to see, well, if I do this, if I put my prices up by 5%, 10%, £20, £50 an hour, what would the impact of that be? If I bought in labour at £20 and charge it out at £30, at £50, at £60, what would the impact be? Okay, and then the simple bit really is then the overheads. You just put in your overheads, your sales costs, establishment costs, admin costs, finance costs, and those are generally what you think it's going to be for the year, divided evenly over each month. It's less of an issue. This bit here, this calculation here for your business is vital, fundamental. You've got to get your head around this, because if you don't, then you just won't grow. And if you do grow, you are just going to waste loads and loads of money. So that, and I can send you, if you want a copy of that, I can send you that as a template. Just email me and I'll send it through to you. And you can just see how the figures work out, and you can change those. The beauty with this is you can say, right, well, I'm going to charge £100 for that, and it will change all the figures. Okay, so you can see very quickly what impact certain things are going to have, so you can start visualizing it, and then you can actually make it happen. So are you there? Fine. Are you? I've lost. Can't see anybody now. Still ready. Brian's still with us. Yeah. You there, Brian?
Yep.
Okay. So when we were talking last, you were saying, look, I'm getting really busy now. I've got lots of frames coming in, but I'm going to start getting behind with this. So you've got to understand that you all have a limited resource of something. Now, for most of us, got stuck in a loop there. For most of us, our limited resource is us. It's our time.
Yeah.
Okay, less so for Nick and Dave, but for the rest of you, it's your time. So you've got to be able to see, right, if I have so many hours, so if I said, my units here were my hours, and I said I've got, say, 30 hours a week, and I charge out at, let's say, £50 an hour, then the most I can actually make in any period is £6,000. Okay, and if I did that for the whole year, I'm limiting myself then I get rid of everything else. Those. So most I can ever earn, yeah, as me is 7,800. Now I could earn more. I could put that up to £60 an hour, so I could earn more that way. Or I could push this up to maybe 35 hours. So I can tweak it a little bit. I can get a 10, 20, possibly a 20% improvement, but I'm still limiting because I only have a certain amount of hours and the market will only allow a certain charge. So therefore, you've got to then say, right, the next resource that I need to bring in, what's it going to be? Am I going to outsource this? Am I going to employ somebody? Is it going to be a combination of both? And you've got to therefore see, right, that next level of resource is the added value that I've got to bring into this organization to make that step change. Yeah. Just go back to there. Yeah, to make that step change from here, which is just me. So that the most that could do was 70, 100,000. If I want to therefore take it up to beyond that, I've got to employ that second person. And what would that model look like at that stage? And yeah, the only way I've seen that you can do that is I either write it down, but to me it's always been come back to a spreadsheet because you can play with those figures. Does that, so Brian, does that, have you had any thoughts on, I know you've been busy this week, but have you put any thoughts to what your next stage is?
I think for me, it's a combination of both outsourcing and probably getting another person.
Yeah.
But I need to get further than where I am at the moment in order to employ someone. So at the moment, it's probably outsourcing a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you outsource in the short term, yeah, you'll make less money on it, but you'll have more flexibility and less risk.
Yeah,
because you can switch it on, switch it off, and therefore, as Damien said, 25% markup on that is 25% more than you would do if you didn't get the work done. So you might, as long as you look at what you charge, your rate up here, if you're charging 3 times your labour anyway, then you could probably still charge that and pay somebody, 20% more than you would pay them if they were employed, because they're covering their tax, national insurance, holidays, all those other things.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll also retain the customer as well. So, because you set it all up and, maybe even put your own badge on it, then they'll come back to you next time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And that's going to be the same with you, Gary. This new venture, what you decide to do is going to be, right, I've got to be able to visualize that model. Dan, for you, same thing. You get to a point where even for me, I've got to look at this and say, look, my income stream is limited to me. How can I push it forwards? How can I actually sort of leverage my time, or do I need to bring some, another coach in to actually, start doing some of the coaching work? So these are all things that I've worked on over the years. I've got bloody megabytes of data of different models that we've tried, different ways to look at it. But for me, it always starts with a spreadsheet. Always starts with, a budget for the year. If I did this, what does it look like? Is it worth it? Is it actually worth putting the, a lot of time, you could do all of this and you're less profitable than you were before, in which case that model probably isn't the right one. Okay, so I think definitely at the beginning of your financial year, who hasn't got a budget for their either the year that they're in or the year that's coming up for them. Because everybody's got a forecast budget. I know Gary hasn't.
Yeah, I haven't, Kevin. I've got some rough figures, but not what you would actually call a budget.
Okay. Okay. So that would be, should be on the 90-day plan list. Then you really shouldn't be going into a new year or in a year without a forecast. Without a set of this is what I'm assessing my success to. Okay, otherwise you're sort of entering the year a little bit blind, but also you're not stretching yourself. A budget should be stretching. It should be moving towards where I want to be up here. I can't sort of enforce enough that mentally you've got to have seen it first. So if there are questions like CIS or other costs that you don't know about, you've got to go and find about them before you start down that route. Otherwise, you will find yourself in a big pile of poo. I guarantee it. Any questions from that, Harry, Brian?
No, it's all good. Thanks. Sorry, you go, Brian.
I know we've done forecast for 3 months, but you're saying is do it for the year, Kevin? Yeah.
I'm saying it's as far out as you can think. You've got to be thinking at least one level above where you are now. So at the moment, if it was me on, it's me on my own. So I've been last year when I parted company with Colin, we had a step change. Okay, now unfortunately for me it was a step backwards, not a step up. So I was going backwards to go forwards, but I had that planned in my head. What does that look like? What can I actually bring in? What's my target for 2020? What was that was for 2020. COVID comes in, okay, hits everything. That had to change. So it was right. Throw that one away, start again, now do a COVID budget. Okay, as we're coming out of COVID, I'm working towards the budget to the end of this year. Yeah, and now I'm starting to think of, right, my year end is August. Okay, so what is going to be 2021, 22 then? How's that going to be different to what it was this year? Okay, and that's part of your working on the business time is that ability to think about what you're going to become in a year's time. Now it's really hard when you're running around, you're working in it and you're doing the work, because it's not the place to be thinking about that. You need that quiet time, you need that ability to step back from it. Okay. Any questions on that? Anything? Does everybody think they could come up with their version of this type of budget? Okay. And if you're not sure, if you can't, then it's better to admit it. Yeah, and then what we can do is we can get a bit of extra support in to help you with that.
And how important is it to break it down per so I'm assuming like the A, B, and C would be all the different sort of categories that we're involved in. So like the vehicle charges and stuff. Yeah.
To be honest, this could be
in relation to Brian. I was in a similar position to him about three years ago, when my workload was well extended beyond what I could do, and I took Keith on a 4-month subcontractor basis, and then I made him staff. So it kind of was the best of both worlds. I don't know if that's a possibility for him.
Yeah, that's generally that is a low risk way. Sometimes you can't do that. You can't find somebody that was willing to do that, and you have to take the hit of taking somebody on. But yeah, if you can do it, then yes, it's a lower risk way to achieve your goals. Lower profit, but again, profit. The higher the risk, the higher the profit. So sometimes you sacrifice a little bit of profit for lower risk in the early days to prove that you can do it, and then you can scale it up. So back to Nick's question. This BBC here, that there could be 100 versions of that. It might be 2.
Yeah, but I mean, in my accounts at the moment, I'm not really breaking down the different types of work we're doing. No issues.
I mean, in the accounts, it's a little bit more difficult. Yeah. And sometimes, but what we're looking at here is always come back to resource. What is the limited resource? What resource do we have to make that step change for? Because if I was just selling products, I know that if I sell an extra product, I can just buy in that one extra product. So there's no limit to my resource. As long as that resource is always there, I sell more, I buy more. I sell less, I buy less. But for most of us where we're labor-based, our resource doesn't come in and is that sort of direct, that variable. It comes in fixed chunks. So I've got to be able to see my resource here. What is it? What's the limitation of it? What do I need to charge it out at in order to get where I want to get to? So it can be as many or as few as you feel it's right. When you're reporting it, though, what I'm saying is sometimes the reporting you won't be able to do that. But I wouldn't worry too much about the reporting. This is purely about you getting your head around what you need to build your business.
See, I struggle with ours, Kevin, because ours is like peaks and troughs. If I split mine into 3 categories, like or 2 categories, electrical and data works, I could tell you now that we're busy for the next 3 months electrically wise, and I've got things similar way in the background I know will come in. Yep. But data wise, I don't have anything. Then all of a sudden someone drops a 2,500 point job on us, and it's like, oh great, that's just topped up our year. I don't know how quite to budget for it, if that makes sense, as you've got as per units.
So what's the difference between the 2 types then? Both take labour.
Yeah. Yeah, they've both got markups. I think the point I'm trying to get is, if I set out to make £1,000 this week, I know that over 5 days I'd have to do £200 a day, which is 4 £50 jobs a day.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden I get a £50,000 job comes in, which is for 3 months. But I haven't put that in my budget because I've only budgeted for £200 days.
Yeah.
I think I'll confuse myself a bit then, but
so I think with that sort of thing, you've got 2 business models.
Yep.
Okay, so you'd almost run 2 of these. One for your day-to-day income. Yeah. That might be a little bit more predictable, and it's a little bit more. I sell X number of days. I've got X number of people, X number of days. So you'd work that one out. Then you'd work another one based on projects. Mm-hmm. So my goal is to get 1 big project per month, 2 a quarter, 3, whatever it is per project, and then you'd build the model around a project-based income stream.
So you could have A would be jobs over £5,000, B would be jobs between 2 and 5, and then C would be under 2 or something like that. So rather
or even if you go back here, so even then I'd have probably 2 sales lines. So one here would be your regular work, and then I'd probably have another line here of project work, and that might be 50,000. 50,000. Also 50,000. Above these zeros. Okay, so I'm expecting 4 50,000 projects in the year, and that would have a separate cost structure the project, because you price the project up differently than you would the regular work. So if your business is made up of things that aren't the same, are just quite diverse, then separate them out and price them up and calculate them completely separately. Don't try and put it on one spreadsheet and make that fit. I mean, as I'm running two companies in effect just together. Does that help, Dave?
It does a bit, Kevin. I don't know. I'm not quite sure, because at the end of the day, if I decide to go out and upset 2 or 3 of my clients, I could have 0 work in 3 months' time, or one of the clients that only gives us £50 a month could all of a sudden turn around and say, "Oh, Dave, I've just bought 6 new industrial units and I want to completely refurb them." And then all of a sudden you go, "Well, great, that's, 500 grand come in this year that I wasn't expecting, that I haven't budgeted for. Then I've got to increase my labour." Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So I don't know how to budget, because personally I don't know. It's probably a completely wrong thing to say, but I wouldn't be able to tell you that I had enough work for the whole year. I know I've got enough clients that have enough work that would keep us going for a year, but I haven't physically got orders for a year's worth of work. So if I take my staff costs and my overheads for the year, I'd be at a negative as soon as I put it on a spreadsheet.
Yeah, but you've got to build in there a certain amount of predicted income. So, Ranjit's the same. Ranjit at this moment, in his books hasn't got enough work to keep him busy for the whole of the year. What he has is a marketing machine, that is building to actually bring in more work on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is an element, it's like a shop. A shop has no guarantees that people are going to walk through the door tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But history has shown that on average, 200 people walk through that shop every day.
Yeah.
So you'd base it on what you know and what is likely. Okay, things can change, and that's when you have to adapt. But I think that the key is sometimes our businesses are actually 2 businesses in one. They're 2 different models in the way our income is generated. And therefore, when you're doing this calculation, think of them as 2 separate businesses that share some resource. And that is often easier than trying to make one model work for both.
So effectively, I'll just set my original budget up around my, say, average figures of last year, but increase to how I want to see them, with then a second sheet, as you said, for the projects, with some targets on the project for the size of work we want to win.
So if we look at it, if we look at it in this basis, so just give me your turnover for last year, Dave.
220.
220. Okay. So the 220 came in from your clients. So how many regular sort of sub £1,000 a job clients have you got?
I'd say we've got 8 who, I hate to say it, drip feed us dribs and drabs.
Yeah.
Which you would say are your sort of sub 1,000 or around sort of 1,000 to 2,000 jobs.
Okay, so let's say we've got 8 for about £1,000 or £1,000 a month, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got 8 that do £1,000 a month. Yeah, so that's 8k times 12. So that's around about, let's say that's 100k.
Yeah.
So if you did nothing in the next year, you just looked after those 8, you'd probably get another 100,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Then on top of that, what have you got? What's your next type of client?
The next ones I'd say are our larger projects, our refurb works.
Yep.
They can be anywhere between 5 to 45k.
So let's say 25k average then, because 5k is a little bit down towards that level.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and how many clients have you got that have done this with you? In last year, was that another sort of 4 of those?
Yeah, 3 or 4. Yeah.
3 or 4 of those. So there's your next 100K.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's if you looked after those, one dropped off, you'd probably get another one through referrals or through your existing client base. Those 8 you look after, they all come back, and 1 or 2 will go and 1 or 2 will add in. Okay, so you could pretty much say from that, you're probably likely next year, so 2022, you're probably going to be around about the same sort of 200, 250K.
Yeah.
Now this one here is done on an hour basis. This one is a bit more of a project basis.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll be more materials into this. So they'll probably, you'll price them up slightly differently to come up with your, so you've got your labor cost in here, and then you've got your cost of sales, then you've got your gross profit. So let's say the labor's 20, the cost of sales is 50, yeah, and you make 30 GP. This might be a little bit more, 30 less 40, you know, and you're still making 30, something like that.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at now then is saying, right, okay, if that's the model, and I've got X, how many team have you got?
Out there is 6.
6 people.
Yeah.
Okay, so 6 people drives that.
Yeah.
So if we're now saying, right, what's the goal for 2 years' time?
We're pushing the 750,000 ideally.
So we want to be 750.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we've got to do, and say this is all about that forward thinking, is right. If I want 750, what does this model need to look like?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, do I need to triple that? So I need not 8, but I need 24 of those at £1,000.
Yep.
Which would be sort of 300,000 of that. And the balance of that then is refurb work, and I want to push that to, well, let's say I'll push it to 50K. So I need 9 of those at 50K, which would be 450, which would be my 750.
Yep.
Or is this going to be 600,000 and that's going to be 150?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the process I'm asking you all to go through. Is at that point in the future, that's not just 10% plus, it's a step change plus, 10, 1 times, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5, 10 times the size. You've got to understand how that income is going to be made up.
Yeah.
And ultimately back down to how many customers do I need to go and get? So if I've got 8 here and I need to go to 24, fine.
Yep.
We then need a marketing plan and a way to actually generate another 16 clients over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever time frame you've come up with.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
Because if you don't go through that process, all you do is you think about this, and you just restrict your thinking to actually achieving this. Because sometimes you've got to build the resource first, before the income will come in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like sort of Brian's probably got to go and find somebody to actually do some framing for him before he's got enough work to actually give to them. Otherwise, what's going to happen is Brian's just going to get busy. He's going to be so busy doing the work, he's never going to have time to do any more marketing, any more sales, or recruit somebody. So you end up, in that case, you end up doing the seesaw. You go up, you come down, you go up, you come down, you go up, you come down. Because I get busy, I don't do any work, it all falls away. I then do the work, put it up again, I get too busy. And that's your life for the next 10 years.
Yep.
Whereas we want to see it right. I need to know, right, what does that look like up here? Now, initially, it's unattainable, but building these steps so that I know that at some point in the future I can get to there.
Yep, I've got it. Yep.
Okay. So Brian, does that any questions from you on that?
The only one that really sprung to mind to me was trying to figure out at which point it is that you go, right, okay, I need to do it now. You know, like on either subbing out or employing someone. At which point do you know where that is?
Ranjit will tell you. How did you feel before you took the plunge, Ranjit?
Yeah, very, very worried. What you mean, emotionally or just numbers wise?
What were you thinking when you were going through this, your first employee sort of stage?
Oh, fear. Yeah, fear completely. Looking at trying to get everything in a row, all ducks in a row, contracts, everything literally, and then you take the plunge and it's great. I mean, sorry, do you want me to go into any depth?
That's fine.
But I mean, so I did a budget, like Kev said, I did a budget, and I know that look, if I could keep Martin, I knew what the monthly operating expenditure would be with Martin on board. So I think it worked out, like just in wages. Yeah, I'd worked it all out, NIC, the whole lot, and knew what he needed to do to break even, which worked out to be something like he needs to do two jobs a month, and he should be able to do about 6. Yeah. So basically, I needed him to work. He needs to work about a week full time to cover his wage, there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And then the rest is working for me, basically.
So that process of doing the numbers, you know,
Yeah.
gives you that confidence that, okay, I can see now how it can, the positive. Also doing the numbers shows that, well, if it doesn't work, what's the negative? You know, what could I lose? And therefore I've got to have my, what in investing terms is called a stop loss. So do I have a point where I can actually get out of this and not be worse off? So Damien's stop loss was, I'll take him on subcontract basis. So if he's got work, I'll give it to him. If he hasn't got any work, he doesn't get paid. That's a nice stop loss on that one. You know, Gary's done something similar with Milan. You know, he's got enough work in there to take somebody on. Dan's done it once and now done it again, and that didn't work. You know, but you know, if it doesn't work, then you just say, right, okay, this isn't working, I'll stop it. And then you sort of you work out why didn't it work. Okay, but I might have got the wrong person, it might have been the wrong role, and then you move forwards from there. So have you got a pen there, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay, just put luck, write luck down vertically, L-U-C-K, in a vertical.
Yep.
Okay, because there's an element of luck in this. There's an element of luck in business, in life, in everything. As Dan knows, in golf, there's a lot of luck involved. But luck stands for labour under confidence and knowledge. Okay, you get lucky when you start, you know, really learning and understanding. You gain the confidence and the knowledge around what you're trying to do. And that's why these numbers are so important, because that's your labouring. That gives you your confidence and knowledge to make the decisions. You know, and sometimes you just you do just have to make the decision. But you have a stop loss in. So if I make the wrong decision, I get out quickly. But if I make the right decision, I've got a really good upside that's going to move me forwards. And it's exactly what if you ever go into investing. I don't know if anybody's done any actual trading. Is any traders here? Done a bit of trading. So
got ISAs, stocks and shares ISAs and things.
But actually done trading. So traded on foreign exchange, things that move quickly. So let's. I mean, I've been watching the euro at the moment because obviously we're buying this place in Spain and I want to get a good rate. So the euro is doing this. Okay, so it does this. Okay, so there's the trend that you're following. And so that gives you confidence. If the trend is up and there's signs in the marketplace, you look around, what's going on? What am I hearing? What am I seeing? Is that trend suggesting that this is a movement, a strengthening of the pound euro? Okay, so I'm looking at the pound against the euro, thinking there's a lot of things going on at the moment saying it's going to strengthen. The COVID situation, the fact that France has just gone into lockdown, lots and lots of things that are saying, but the market is doing this. So what we want to do when we're investing is we want to make the most of the upswings. Yeah. So any upswing we want to make the most of. Any downswing, we want to put a stop loss in. We don't know on a day-to-day basis whether it's going to go up or go down. We know overall the trend is going up. So we want to ride the wave on the way up and we want to mitigate the loss on the way down. If you do that, then you trade successfully. So in business, it's the same. We put stop losses in. So, okay, if this didn't work, what do I do? How do I get out of this quickly? What is my exit strategy? Clear what my exit strategy is, and okay, I'm confident that the market, the work is going to continue. Gary saying I'm booked up now 3 weeks. Dave, you're saying similar things. I know, Dan, you're backing on the confidence in the market continuing to go. So I think it's the right time. So therefore, I'm gonna invest in that person or whatever it is. I put my stop loss in. If it doesn't work, how do I get out of this? And to be honest, the easy thing in people is, well, you just get rid of them. I know it's hard nosed, but it's business at the end of the day. It's not personal. It's not easy. It's never easy letting go somebody. It's easy when they're crap, but if it's just they're good and the market's not good, but you've always got that option. If you hang on to it, let's say you don't put the stop loss in here and you don't do something and the market changes, that wind changes to now a down one, then that's when you're in serious problem. So you're always looking at the marketplace, what's happening. Am I still confident that there's work there, that the work's going to come in? Yes, I am. Therefore, as long as I put my stop loss in there, I get to a point where actually, yeah, this is the right time to do it. And if I ask, Damien, Dan, and Ranjit, if you could go back in time and do it earlier, would you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But much like Ranjit, I was in a position where I needed him to work for 2 days to pay for his wage for the week.
Yeah.
And it gives you a degree of confidence that he only needs 40% optimization in order to break even.
And the old saying is, if you can afford 50% of their wage, then take them on, because they should generate the other 50% pretty quickly. So if you can afford them, right, if nothing happened, I can afford you for 3 months or whatever time frame it is, then you put that resource into that person for that period of time.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So, Gary, future budget for Gary and Brian. Anybody else need to go and look at their budgets as well?
I'm happy to have that spreadsheet because I don't think I got that one.
Okay.
Yeah. I like collecting Action Coach spreadsheets. You know how it is.
Let me do that now, and then I won't forget. So, who else wants it?
Yeah, go on.
Yes, please, Kevin.
It just means that I need to try and break down our different types of work. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I'll take a copy, if that's right.
Yes, please, Kevin. Me as well. I'd like a spreadsheet for that.
And to be fair, Brian, I might have a couple more projects for you when I get back home.
Gary, Damien, Brian,
Oh, thanks, Damien.
Ranjit. Who have I missed? And you've got. Do you want Dan?
I do a sort of a budgeted spreadsheet for myself. It's more of a cash flow forecast than a P&L, but it's still the same sort of principle.
Okay. I'll send it to you anyway, so
Okay.
you can store it if not.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see that, Brian.
I can see the sun.
Yeah.
Is it
I don't-
page three you want framed?
No, no, that's my dad on the front page of The Sun being attacked by Sean Penn. And that's a picture with Sean Penn and Madonna in the background.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh,
my dad.
cool.
What was he? Was he a photographer then?
He was a journalist.
Right.
And he asked him the wrong question, and Sean Penn went for him and got done for attempted murder. And it was on the front page of The Sun
Wow.
in 1985.
There you go. That's something you can tell everybody now. You know somebody that was on the front page of The Sun. Okay. So let's move on then to the leverage marketing. And look at what do we need to do. So if we look at this and say there's sort of there's two forms of marketing. There's one that is our effort, okay, and then there's leveraged, which is generally paid for. Okay, so this is time and this is money. So we've either got to invest in the early days, or we don't have money, so we invest our time. As we move forward, we have more money, and therefore we're putting that money into leveraged marketing. So let's just do a little brainstorming then. What forms of leveraged marketing are at our disposal? And there's no, again, you can think from your business, but for other people's businesses, what are some of the leveraged marketing you can come up with?
Approached by a guy on LinkedIn who works for a company that they kind of find you projects, but I was a little bit wary of it. I wasn't sure.
Okay. So, okay, let's not judge them. Project finders. Yeah, that's what we got.
Lead generation, outbound calling businesses.
So we got outbound. So let's say telemarketing,
Newspapers,
adverts,
like just print media.
Yeah.
Website.
So that could be in print
Or electronic.
or a web.
In-house marketing person.
So we got in-house marketing.
I might come under advertising, but I'm always getting spam emails from somebody who wants to put me in CEO Today magazine, and I pay for this spread.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we call those advertorials.
Right.
If you have to pay for it, you get a page that is editorial, and that works. Alongside that, you've got PR. So that would be utilizing a PR company to use the free stuff, get you in papers, get you in the Sun, go and attack Sean Penn, and you get the Sun. Any others that you can think of?
But networking in that one gets kind of paid for.
Network in what way, Brian?
Like when you go network, say like BNI.
That's generally your effort. So networking, I would up here.
All right.
Unless you
send one of your
bring
guys
in what we call a business development manager, who would do the networking for you. Any others?
I might become under the advertorials again. I get emails about, oh, you won this award, or pay for this dinner table.
Oh, yeah. I'm not even going to put those on because they just don't work at all.
And Tesla's painted in your company logos and literature.
I'll put that as advertising.
That's advertising. All right.
Advertising on billboard advertising on Teslas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about like you, Kev, you've got someone in doing your social media for you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So you've got you in-house or out-house, sort of outsource marketing person. I would put down there your strategic alliances.
Yeah, good point. Strategic alliances.
They should work. They are leveraged.
Yeah.
You should be working while you're not doing the work yourself.
Yeah.
When you could put in referrals in there, but there's a question mark because a lot of that draws some lovely patterns. Yeah, otherwise, what's happening? That does take a bit of your own effort into that.
And does not strategic partnerships come into things like BNI?
It sort of does. I was thinking more of, you in BNI, you can have a strategic partner, somebody who is actually referring on a regular basis. BNI, you do get that. I mean, we've got a letting agent who's he's more of a strategic alliance for a lot of people with Nick. I mean, you get quite a bit of work from him. Ranjit's got some, Gary's got some, where you're getting regular repeat business from them. Whereas
so we have 4 or 5 contractors.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 4 or 5 contractors that I do zero marketing with. I just send them bits and bobs every Christmas or whatever, and then they just send you leads all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, if you want more, there's if you look down the action coach, I think you can find it. 5 ways. share this with you.
What
this
in
is
there
our-
actually works?
Sorry?
What in there actually works?
Well, look, this is our Action Coach 5 ways. Okay, so obviously we're looking here at lead generation. So
Yeah.
we've got advertising, radio advertising, inserts, billboards. There's 73 strategies in there. Now they all work.
What, even Yellow Pages?
In its day, it worked.
So you're telling me this is dated?
There's a little bit. This is a little. I haven't updated this. I think I took the date off. It's so dated. 2012.
Yeah.
This was. So I haven't really updated it. But so the essence are there are a lot of them. Okay, now some will work better in your industry than others. I generally find, certainly in the early days, you don't need inspiration to come up with new ideas. It's better to be thinking of the tried and tested ones, the ones work, and then work out how to leverage them the best. So what we want to look at then is which ones are the quickest and easiest, simplest to leverage. Because some are going to, if you start looking at the
I'm so jealous of how much you played golf this week.
that is the default diary from heaven one.
Is that the leveraged form of marketing?
I'll if you think that one's good, Nick, I'll show you next week. That's next week.
Oh, lovely.
And the week after. That's not so good.
Yeah.
Not very leveraged, that. So what we want to be able to do then is really look at what can we leverage, what can we get somebody else to do, and ideally it's like spinning plates. So get one plate spinning, get it running, and then pass it over. Okay, if you pass a plate over that isn't spinning, you are reliant on the skills of the person you're handing it over to get it working for you. Now, I'm not saying that isn't possible, okay, but as Damien sort of pointed out, there are a lot of people out there promising they can deliver stuff, and it's generally cold emails, and they my experience is they'll charge you £1,000, they'll deliver fuck all, and then they'll move on to somebody else and charge £1,000, deliver fuck all, and move on to somebody else. Okay,
Yeah,
so
dubious.
Yeah, and I think you're dubious probably because you've had your fingers burnt in the past, but the key always to anything like this is test and measure it. Okay, you've got, and sometimes a bit like we're talking, we're taking a person on. There is a little bit of risk involved. There's a little bit. If you do nothing, well, nothing. You get nothing back for that, for sure. So sometimes you do have to take a bit of a risk and give it a go. But you've got to make sure your measurement systems are in place. So, let me take you through the.
But the whole project finder thing, I find a bit. I don't want somebody to start a relationship for me that may not be right for me, and all of a sudden I'm committed to it because they've approached somebody on my behalf.
Yep.
So I just find that a bit, yeah.
And I suppose this is why you've got to look at the process. Okay, so the first thing you've got to look at is how do leads, what did I say? What's my pipeline? What's my funnel? look like? So if this is a client down here, okay,
Yeah.
and a lead comes in. So a lead's going to come in from multiple sources. I'll come on to that in a minute. I then qualify them, and then I take them through my process. Okay, so the first thing you've got to understand is, and this is the sales process, is, well, what is that sales process? If I'm leveraging, which bits do I not want to get rid of? There's some bits in here that I must do, and some bits here that are optional, and some bits up here that I don't want to do. So this is somebody else. So you've got to be clear at what point do you get involved in the process? What are you going to do? And what's other people going to do? Ultimately, if you think 5 years ahead, you won't be doing any of it because you'll have better people doing this. But initially, you've got to say, where's my skill set best to put into? What should I do and what shouldn't I do?
Yeah.
Now, in the early days, I got rid of this qualification process to somebody else, and I found that I was either getting rubbish came through or people weren't getting through into here. So if this was me in here, I had somebody doing that bit, I wasn't getting anything. It was like sort of, we were getting leads in, but nothing came through. And there was always excuses. I just thought, actually, the best point of contact for me, the best use of my time is actually here. Actually talking to, it's a very difficult one for me to we call this a coach on deck call. So it's the first contact with a client. The person to do that is me.
Yeah.
Now, some of my colleagues in other places have actually trained their team up and spent a lot of time and effort training their team up to do this. Okay, but that takes resource that I don't have, to get to that point. So I felt that this one was the easiest one for me to do. I can then, next stage in the process, I can outsource, because that's more of a process. Send them this book, send them that, get the questionnaire in, make sure they've done some pre-work, and then I get back involved here, which is the sales meeting.
Yeah.
Once the sales meeting is done, I can then outsource this bit, which is the processy stuff of onboarding. So onboard there. So it's outsourced. I get in touch, pass it over, I get back involved. It's then it's outsourced to somebody else, and then it's now into a client realm. So I would say the first thing is map out your process and which part you want to leverage first. Once you've done that, then you've got to look at your 10 by 10. So, okay. So you've then got to look at your 10 key strategies. Out of the 73 that was on that previous list, out of the list that we've just talked about, what are the 10 key strategies that can generate you leads? Or just say generate you new business, because some of those, as we see here, okay, so L is for leads and conversion, hashtag is the number of transactions and average pound sale. There are some strategies that are in not lead generation but repeat business side of things, so you want to make sure that you're working on these. Okay, and what the cost is, the activity is, and then you could almost put in there sort of, well, who's going to do it. Okay, so you could have, so Ranjit, for you, so out of that list there, which ones are you currently doing?
Networking,
On that,
referrals,
yeah.
past customers, strategic alliances, and that's it.
Okay, cool. So you're doing 4. Now, if you did your numbers and said, right, each of those 4 generally bringing in this, if I tweak them to improve them by 10% or whatever I could do, would that over the course of the next year generate you enough leads to hit your sales targets?
Yeah.
If it does, then stick with the 4 you've got.
Mm.
Yeah. If it doesn't, I would say get better at the 4 you've got. If that doesn't, then you've got to add another one.
What's an SEO?
Search engine optimization website.
Oh, got that as well.
Okay.
Yeah. With the Google reviews and things like that.
Okay. So I'd be looking down these and saying, right, so out of all of those, which one is the easiest to therefore leverage and outsource that doesn't take any of your time?
The strategic alliances. Well, no, SEO. That's the one that. Yeah.
100%. SEO. Yeah. I'm not a web expert. There are plenty of web experts out there. I've just got to find a good one. Yeah. Okay. So I've got my how much I'm going to invest, what the lead target is. The key to this is for them is the activity. So I've outsourced my SEO to a company that's part of Action Coach. So I'm paying them £250 a month to actually do what they should be doing. Yeah, I've given them 3 months to deliver, and they haven't delivered. Okay, I've got no leads as a result of the work they've done, and actually the activity KPIs that they're giving me are rubbish. So fine, that gets stopped at the end of this month. I've given them a month's notice, and I'm going to pull the budget out of that.
Yeah, we had the same. They just write things like, "Oh, we've got a Facebook page with 50 likes on it. Look at us, we're so great." And it's not achieved a single lead.
Yeah, and this is what for every marketing company are going to give you bullshit. Oh yeah, we can do this. We can do this. Fantastic. So this is the way I'm going to record your success. Not them telling you how they're going to record their success. Yeah, this is how I see it. Number 1, how many leads have you generated me? Yeah. Number 2, what active? Because sometimes SEO doesn't generate leads. Sometimes their activity isn't going to generate leads. Number 2 then must be an activity-based number. Okay, so how many blogs have you posted? How many additions have you what have you added to the website? What have you physically done that is moving me towards actually generating leads in the future? Now, I'll accept good activity if I've got no leads, but not on a long-term basis, on a short-term basis. And whether this is outsourced to another company or whether it's in-house outsourced, you bring somebody in to do it, it doesn't matter. So Dan, you've had probably the freshest experience of this. So what lessons did you learn through that process?
You mean with regards to Tayyab, my employee? Yeah. So the biggest one was I didn't really have it clear in my mind what I wanted. So that kind of manifested in terms of I advertised for a trainee / junior broker, and then wanted them to come into the business and just hammer the phones with outbound calls. So obviously I didn't set the right expectations, got the wrong person, and it was a disaster. Short term, the damage was limited financially speaking, but yeah, it was just completely the wrong way to go about it. So next time around, starting immediately after Easter, I'll start the process again to specifically recruit a marketing assistant, someone with the right skill set.
And often, you do learn through experience. You bring somebody in, you thinking I'm going to do SEO, and you actually find that they're better at doing referrals. Okay, so sometimes you look at the person you've got now, and this is a bit of a challenge I've found, that at the cheaper end of the marketing spectrum are the generalists. I'm okay. I can do lots of things. I can do Facebook posts, I can do LinkedIn posts, I can do SEO, I can do web, I can do emails, I can do, and they're basically a PA. As you go up the chain, they become specialists. Exactly the same as in your business. Gary, at the moment, you're a generalist. You can do a bit of everything. Yeah, Ranjit at the moment is doing, architecture, a bit of everything. Okay, as you grow and you start to get bigger projects, you do become more specialist. So if you want somebody just to do SEO, you want to find somebody that just does SEO, and that's how they make their money. Not I do a bit of SEO, I do a bit of email, I do a bit of this, I do a bit of that.
I think that's our problem, is that we're quite specialist, work on some fairly large stuff, but it's finding somebody that can market us right.
Yeah, because you got, in a way, two things. One is the specialism in which you are, and you've got, in a way, you've got to have an understanding of that. And two, you've got to be a specialist in the discipline of actually marketing your specialism.
Yeah.
So are you going to find somebody that has spent their entire life specializing in marketing your type of business?
Very unlikely.
No.
It's like networking. One of the problems I found with networking groups is finding a group which we actually fit with, in the sense that because we're so specialist, we're not like, it's very, most of the people we come across, we're not a natural fit for.
Yeah, and then that is always going to be the challenge. The more niche, we always say have your niche, but if you niche too much, then you restrict the number of people, and if that market isn't big enough to build the type of business you want, then you're going to have problems.
No,
A little bit of the solution around this is not seeing yourself as the technician. Okay, see yourself as the business owner who is invested in a technical business. Because if you'd invested in your business, Damien, as a technical business, and you were struggling to grow that business much further than it is now, as an investor, what would you do?
Well, sell it to people.
I could sell it. Okay, this isn't giving me the return I want.
Go out and build the business yourself, because you understand the business, as in go out and sell your wares.
So let's just change it around then. So Ranjit, you've just bought Damien's business. Okay, a very specialist niche business. Thinking that there's a massive market for this, and you've worked on it for a couple of years, and it's just not growing.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you do?
In terms of marketing?
As an investor, what do you do? You've tried everything. You've tried everything to market it, to grow it, and it's just not growing.
As an investor, you pull out.
You could pull out, ditch it, sell it,
pull out,
go somewhere else. Yeah. Or it's quite profitable. It makes money, but it won't grow. It's the market potential for that is a bit stuck.
Okay, well, you start investing elsewhere then. You just park the investment, it brings in a salary or an amount, and then move on to the next investment.
Yeah.
Spread, yeah. The kind of the point I'm coming to is I'm probably, I can see people who are in the business are probably better at selling the business from my perspective, better at selling it through referrals and kind of rather than approaching a third party who I find always struggles to understand what we do.
What about all the leads that you're already generating? Are you maximizing your revenue from those streams? You know, could you look at some of your clients and say, well, actually, do you know what? We're only doing 50% of their work, or we're doing 70% of their work. Who's doing the other 30%? What can we do to
definitely. And I think if I spent more time on it, then I could probably generate more leads.
Yeah.
But it's finding that balance between finding another member of staff, as Dan's obviously found, is finding the right person with the right skills that fits within your organisation is job number one. So then,
if that's something you enjoy, then you enjoy, wouldn't you just push yourself towards that? And if you think that you're the best person to market it, and then get someone else to do the technical stuff that you're doing, or the admin stuff that you're doing.
We had one of our suppliers phone us up in January and say, look, you know, you did 25 grand with us last year, you know, really pleased with that. But part of what we've been asked to do by head office is find out what your spend, if it's not a rude question, what your spend is on electrical goods, including the likes of Screwfix, including the likes of, you know, all of our competitors. And then when I told him, he said, so what can we do to get the rest of that? I said, well, you've got to lower your prices. You know, and sometimes you might think, well, actually, do you know what? If it doesn't mean you've got to spend anything on marketing, maybe you could afford to sacrifice a very small part of your profit to.
No, that's true. We do lose some jobs because of cash.
Yeah, but it turns out that they still can lower their prices to match what we're paying elsewhere. So
but there are some people out there that offer jobs at silly prices, and I'm just not interested in competing.
Yeah, exactly.
Damien, just going back. Sorry, Nick. Damien, just going back to what you were saying about people outside the business not knowing your business and how to sell your services and everything.
Yeah.
My experience of using someone like Drew, for example, your lead machine, I don't expect him to know my business inside out. I just need him to know enough to open some doors for me. So at the start of this week, we gave him a list of 113 accountants on my patch that we haven't been spoken to before. They're not on my CRM, so they're not getting regular email bulletins or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's not my skill set. I'm no good at cold calling. I'm no good at getting past gatekeepers, and accountant gatekeepers are vicious bastards at the best of times. So I said, right, you do it. And it cost me 300 quid, including back for a day's work. And we've sent out about, I think it's about 80, 85 emails now to these people that we've never had any contacts before, because we've had that initial first contact. So under GDPR, they can now go on our CRM because we said we'll send them an email to let them know what we do. And then they'll either come back and say, no, take us off your distribution list, or they're on there for the long term, and we'll keep sending them emails so that it generates potentially leads in the future. So that's a relatively cheap way of finding someone who's got that skill set, breaking doors down for you.
Yeah, I was about to say 350 quid sounds quite reasonable.
Yeah, they don't need to know your business inside out. That's where you would do the follow-up and really add the value to the conversation. You just want them to go in and just give them a few key questions that they can ask without having any particular knowledge of the product or the service.
Fair enough.
Think you know, it's often good to come outside of your business, you know, and think about if my business was another business or another thing, you know, what would be happening here? And one of the keys is this, certainly in technical worlds, think yourself as a hospital. Yeah, and you are the most senior brain surgeon in the hospital.
Yeah.
And there is only one of you. Okay. Now, if you had to go and do everything in that hospital, you know, you do nothing particularly well.
Yeah.
So when a patient comes into hospital, what is the process? Because that's what happens in your sales marketing machine. You know, a lead comes in, and then there's a process that happens. And there's a process before they come in. How do I attract them to actually come in the first place? Now, do they need to know the intricacies of what we do, brain surgery, in order to get them into the hospital? No.
No.
You just have to be in pain.
It's
No.
finding some form of pain or an emotion that says, oh, that sounds interesting. Yeah, I'd like to know more about. Oh, that's fantastic. You know, well, look, let me arrange a meeting with our senior consultant. You know, he's on a very strict timeline at the moment. He can only see you for half an hour. You know, but I'll book you in for next Thursday.
Yeah, and I think that's always been my biggest problem is once I've got a name and somebody to speak to, it's so much easier to open up a personal relationship rather than and it is that first getting across that first step, and that's half the battle.
And that's what I said about you. The first thing you've got to do is map this out.
Yeah.
What is that process of? You know, if you look here, if you remember on the sales training, you know, we talk about trust. So whatever you do at this level has to build trust.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's why whoever's doing this bit, if it damages the trust level, then stop it. You've got to get out of that.
Yeah.
The second phase is need. Now, for me, I needed to get in here because of the type of work I do, I need to go into that need identification.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the help bit, if you've done these two really well, this bit is relatively easy anyway. Yeah, and then the hurry is the follow-up, you know, well, that I could probably outsource that as well. You know, oh, we did a quote for you 2 weeks ago. Have you made a decision yet? You can outsource that part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so if you break it down into its component parts and then look to outsource a small part of the process, or you can hand the whole process over to a business development manager, and you could just burn loads of money.
Yeah.
Now you might find somebody's as good as you, but you know, I've probably seen it 1 in 1,000 cases where that's ever happened.
No, I quite like that idea of getting 80 names, first name of names of people.
Yeah. Okay. So, Ranjit, what about for you? Where do you feel that leverage needs to come for you?
Strategic alliances, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all well and good getting the single referrals via whatever marketing method, but it's one customer. And when we've got contractors, I did the numbers for our best referrer at the moment. It's a company, a construction firm that is offering D&B, design and build services, because we came on board with them. And he gave me 20 leads last year. Okay. Total value of 75K. Because obviously we are his only people that we go to, or that he goes to, because we obviously had this alliance. So it's not just our fees, he's adding his stuff on, all the rest of it. So the conversion rate is only 26% conversion rate, right? But the value of each
75 leads.
75K worth of leads, 75K. Which is 20 leads.
So he gave you 20 leads.
Yep.
And you converted how many of those?
26%.
26% of those, which generated 75K.
No, which generated 20,000.
20,000. Okay. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you looked at this and said, "All right, I want 200,000."
Yep.
Yeah. I need 10 of those.
Yep.
So let's 10x this.
Yep.
I need 10 strategic alliances on board. So it's similar to Dan's sort of with accountants.
Yeah.
So in order to get one of these guys on board, there's a process to get them on board.
Yeah.
Now, the bottom end of the process, the talking to them, you know, is generally going to be the best person to do that at the moment is you.
Yeah.
Front end, in order to get, say, 10 of those, I need to speak to 100. If my conversion rate is if you don't know what it is, then start with 10%.
Yeah.
Can you do 100 outbound contacts? You want to do 100 outbound contacts?
No, I'd love to be able to do it. I don't want to do it, but and no. So I would get someone to do that. Yeah.
So that's the bit you leverage.
Yeah.
Randy, what
Yep.
do you offer them? As in, it's a strategic alliance. So
Yeah. So we know what our offering is to to our client in this circumstance, i.e. the contractors, which is that they lose leads because they're the first point of contact, and then they refer architects or whatever, and then they basically don't get the project. This ensures that the project is kept in-house. You know, they're a specialist. They're builders. They're not designers, but they are often the first. Like when you think you want to do a project, you think you know you need a builder, but you don't know you always need an architect.
yeah.
Yep. So they're the first. So what happens is they get their foot in the door, but then they get squeezed out because by the time they've got planning, etc., or somebody's sorted planning, they recommend an architect, and then they're off the scene. They're no longer relevant.
Right. So
by being
an in-house thing.
Sorry.
They can offer you almost like an extension of their in-house team.
Yeah, so basically we do all the drawings and such like as if we were actually them.
Yeah, makes sense.
We just out, their logos go on all the drawings, etc. That's what the agreement says, etc. Don't have a problem with that. When clients call me or their customers call me, it's Ranjit part of the NBC team or whatever, and that's that.
That's the problem I've always struggled with in the past, is remembering phone calls come in and I'm supposed to be this company, not my company.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a contact list or an Excel sheet and stuff, and generally we're small enough to know who we're doing the job for. But yeah, sorry Kevin, carry on. Got a bit sidetracked there.
Yeah, no, look, I think this is all, certainly with strategic. I mean, strategic alliance is a specific strategy in its own right, and you've got to be clear how it works well. Good things if you've got one. How does it work well? What's the benefit to the partner? And what's the benefit to you? And what's the benefit to the client? If that is really clear, then all you've got to do is replicate that. Use all the good bits and go to these people and say, because unless there's a clear offer, I know what we call it, what's in it for me, WIFM, then why would they even listen? Now, if this is really strong, a monkey could phone them up and tell them what it is.
Yeah, that's right.
If this is weak, then you have to do it.
Because that's what I've always struggled with the strategic alliances, is what is it in there for the opposition? So if somebody gives me work, what am I giving them in return?
Yeah. But if it's not strong, then you've got to convince them, and they've got to know, like, and trust you, and all sorts of things like that. If it's a no-brainer, then they'll have them queuing around the block.
Yeah.
Mm.
If you said to them, for everybody you refer to me, I'll pay you £20,000. Yeah, they'll probably sit up and go, "Oh, okay, tell me more about that."
Yeah.
Unless they're an accountant.
Unless they're an accountant and they believe that they're above it. Well, solicitors are worse.
Oh yeah, the fake ethics.
So, but that's why sometimes those strategic alliances aren't the best, and you go somewhere else.
So, so we do lease plan drawings for solicitors, and our offer is that they want the buying a house often gets really slowed down because solicitors are notoriously slow and claim that everything is really difficult to do. And what we do is, if they need a lease plan, we say we'll get it out to you within 1 to 3 days. No one else can offer that, and most of the time we'll do it in 1 day. And for us, it's great because that's a client that's in pain. Like, they have to get it done. If they want to sell their house, they need a lease plan, which is, you know, your land registry plan with a red line around it.
Yeah.
So our offer is speed.
So if we come back to 10 by 10, we come back to this and you say, right, well, okay, what am I currently doing? Now, some of you may not have 10 on there, so don't worry about that. What have you got currently? Look at those, and to be honest, there's some you just won't be able to outsource, you won't be able to leverage. So networking is generally one of those. It's a very tough one to outsource, that one. But one or two of the others you can, if you've actually done them yourself already, you've been successful once or twice yourself, then what was the script you used, what was the process you used, you've got to get that almost so you can give it to a monkey and the monkey has a good chance of succeeding. Okay, if you just turn around, I'm going to outsource my SEO, and don't really know what you want to outsource or what you want to achieve, then you're going to probably get sold to by somebody who doesn't know much more than you. And sometimes, if you do get connect, or generally it's through networking, talk to people, just speak to them. Say, okay, so you're promising you can do this. Tell me what you can do for me. But always come back to, right, okay, so I've heard what you said, what you can do, but show me the numbers. What does that relate to in numbers? Because what I need is this. These are my numbers that I need. And then it's similar to what we're talking with Brian. It's that confidence, labouring under confidence and knowledge to give it a go. Okay, what you've found is pretty good. I've got my metrics in place that will know whether it's on track or not. I'll give you 3 months. Yeah, and if it's not worked in the 3 months, then I'll pull the budget. This is what I'm doing with these SEO guys. I've told you what I want. You haven't really delivered it. You haven't really given me any. I don't get any communication from them during the month as to what they've done. I have to ask for it, and I'll put my 250 quid somewhere else. And sometimes you do have to kiss a few frogs before you find, the prince. Okay.
So really what you're saying is there's no right or wrong way. You've just got to make sure you measure it and make your decision after giving it a go.
Yeah. Don't just go, I'm going to outsource it. Think about what part of the process you're outsourcing.
Or break it down into each part of what you're going to do.
Yeah, break it down.
Trial each part.
Yeah, what am I expecting? And sometimes it makes it easy to outsource, because I'm going to outsource that tiny bit of the whole process. Yeah, and you're more likely to get a better result from that than outsourcing the whole process. Okay, so Ranjit, where would you start with that?
So looking at, I hadn't actually considered that strategic alliances were a form of actual marketing. I hadn't quite in my brain put 2 and 2 together there. Look at potentially outsourcing the initial element of the forging of strategic alliances, so that script are you losing leads? Are you losing customers, potential customers, because of X, Y, and Z? Well, here's a way to get over it.
Yep.
And then somebody else can do that bit.
And that might be a phone call, it might be a letter, you know, it might be a what we call a phone, mail, phone, make sure who's the contact, send them something, follow it up. You know, it might be an email campaign. You know, once you know the target and the offer, then the method then becomes more obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool, good. Nick?
It's just really kicking my ass about getting on and doing something with the website and creating promotional videos and everything that I've been trying to do. I was just hoping that I was going to get an answer said, no, you only need to spend an hour or so here and then you'll generate loads of business. But it looks like I'm actually going to have to work hard and put the time in. But,
I mean, the beauty with videos is they are leveraged. You do the work once, you get the results forever.
Yeah.
You know, so but you've got to put that effort in up front in order to get the payback later on.
Yeah. But what I've started working on as well is we're gonna, so because Aidy's taken the project manager role, but he's going to have a 3-month probation. We've set it up now, so Olivia's going to send a point of contact out with a video when she books a quote, just basically introducing herself, letting her know how we're going to communicate. Then it will go on to me. I'll confirm that, you know, what I'm looking at and the few things to sort of like do a bit of research on and think about before I come out. And then Aidy's going to contact us saying, Nick's just looked at the job with you. I'll send over the quote within a couple of days, and then I'll like make contact, just so we're establishing that communication, but also showing the videos there. So hopefully it will send them over to the website to look at the rest of the videos.
Okay. So how many videos are you going to commit to get done for 2 weeks?
2 weeks time. So we'll have at least 3. So 1 from me, 1 from Olivia, and 1 from Aidy.
3 videos. Okay.
At least 3. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll hold you to that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, who wants a Tesla for a week? Anybody want a Tesla for a week? Ranjit looks like he wants a Tesla for a week. So Ranjit, you get it for the first week that he fails. Dan gets it for the second week that he fails.
Fantastic. I really enjoy driving around in that. From
so all you got to do now is just keep phoning Nick up and doing sort of pretending to be different customers.
Yeah.
Cool. Dan, what about you?
It's all been read. I'm just all about the recruitment process at the moment and making sure I get that right. So
yeah,
all of this will come after that, as long as I get the right individual.
Cool. So that's your focus the next couple of weeks then?
Yes, probably for next month, to be honest.
Yeah. But again, you know, think about that, because if you want somebody to do the marketing, if you can be clear where you think the best result's going to be, then recruit for that person. You want, there'll be a bit of a generalist, but you want the skills in the one key area ideally first. So
yeah, I know what the right person looks like. You know, there's a perfect person in another office, and that's what I'm modelling it on. Yeah, she opened so many doors for that office. So
great. I mean, that's even better. You know, if you see somebody doing it somewhere else for somebody else, then great. I want one of those, please.
Yeah,
offer them more money.
Hey,
offer them more money.
I mean, look, that's not a bad shout, Damien. I mean, sometimes it's a case of they're underutilized where they are.
But I get on all right with the director in that office. I think that would upset a few apple carts.
Well, but ask him. You know, if he's got an underutilized person, you know, you might say, well, look, I could give you 500 quid a month. You know, pays for some of their wages, and all she's got to do is exactly what she's doing for you, for me.
Yeah. That probably would have worked through the lockdown because she's been doing everything online and remotely, but it's very much a face-to-face thing in reality. Once we're all back out there, and once we can go out and start licking people and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, sometimes so if you do see them, there are ways to leverage again on the back of what they're actually doing. So,
okay.
Good, Damien.
Yep.
What's your takeaway and focus for the next 2 weeks?
To be fair, getting home.
Getting home, yeah. So it's got a bit harder in the last few days. Oh, did you find what's in the safety deposit box?
That happens on Tuesday, which is
Tuesday. Oh, we're still waiting.
Why I'm still here.
We're still waiting.
I've also got I've got a couple of key things I need to organise here, such as the safety deposit box, redirecting the post, and getting a French bank account, and then I'll go home.
Okay. Then we get you back on the business. So.
Yeah, no, there's been some interesting ideas there, and I like that the lead machine idea. Again, at the moment, I haven't really got, because I'm not just focused purely on the business. I just don't have the time.
Yeah, that's fine.
I can keep the business.
But these, I mean, the good thing with this is we're sowing seeds for the future. So these ideas, when they do come, you'll be that step ahead, which is all good. So cool, Gary.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi there. So
your takeaway and your focus the next 2 weeks on this.
Getting that. So hopefully you've emailed me that spreadsheet. Have a little look through that and see if I can, or if I can apply that to my company, so I can get a better idea of the numbers. So I'm very much for the whole idea of knowing your numbers, but I don't know how to, where to get the numbers from that I'm supposed to know. So it'd be quite good to maybe go through that spreadsheet and then try, maybe if I could speak to you or my accountant or Jezza or someone, just to give me a bit of a talking through on how it works, because I love numbers, but when it comes to accounts and reading profit and losses and stuff, it's just, I won't be able to read and understand. I'd rather be told and understand.
Yeah. Well, so if any of you do need a bit of help, if you know anyone that does need that, then Jane tends to do that with people. So she'll sit you down, do your budget for you, talk you through it, and then it's, and then she can adjust the spreadsheets as and when, as you need it. So, she's, we'll just do a sort of a fixed fee for that, just to cover her time, but she's quite happy to play with spreadsheets and produce that for you. So if anyone needs some help on that, then just let her know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, sure. Cool.
But even if you just do it on a fag packet and write some numbers down to start with, it's more go through the process that is a key thing to it. So. Okay. Brian.
My focus is to have a break.
To have a break. It's been that tough, has it, the last couple of weeks?
I'd love one of those.
Yeah. No, it was called 5th of April. Yeah, Easter. I'll have a week off. But no, I'm working some of it now. So it's really to find time for a holiday.
Okay.
Or not holiday, but a bit of a break.
Yeah.
And then I can focus a bit more on the business rather than in it as well.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I think for all of us, it has been a hell of a long year. And I think if you saw my email on Monday, was you do have to sort of once a quarter make the time in the diary. That's why God gave us a 5-week month, so you could have at least 1 week off every quarter. So look in your diary, plan it out, to find the time, book it out. That's why my diary that you saw there, And that's been booked out since January. It doesn't just happen, it's been booked. Yeah, that was planned back in January. That was the week I'm going to have off. I didn't know it was going to be the opening of the golf courses, or it was going to be a lovely 3 days of weather. That's the bonus. But the planning of that time, has to happen well in advance of it. Otherwise, it just won't. I mean, I had to move probably 4 people that by accident ended up booking into that time. And I could have easily just gone, well, okay, I'll have Monday off and then I'll work Tuesday and I'll have Wednesday off and I'll work Thursday. This was the only one that I gave myself permission to actually not cancel for this week. So I think yourselves all really lucky that I've turned up for this, just for you guys. So Brian, look, but you've got to book it in. You've got to say, look, that's more important than anything else at this stage. Otherwise, it won't. The world will just demand more and more of your time, and you'll just get sucked, and it'll spit you out the other end. Good. Okay. Well, Dave's, I think, had to shoot off. So I think good discussion there. On the looking forwards and leveraging time and marketing. So look forward to some good successes over the next couple of weeks. Have a great Easter. So hopefully you do get a bit of time to do what you want to do. And I will see you. So time mastery is next week. So if you want a bit more on default diaries and disk profiling, etc., then we'll be here this time, or 4 o'clock next week. I've got the tickets for BizX. So if you have asked me to get a ticket for you, then I have one for you. So I managed to get the last day of the cheaper prices. If not, they're still reasonable. So I'll be sending something out on that next week just to get you registered onto it.
So I bought my ticket through the email that you sent out, and they haven't sent me an invoice yet. Who do I contact for that?
Oh, okay. I'll just email me, and then I'll forward it to the marketing team.
Perfect.
Okay, just say I haven't got my ticket yet, and then that will remind me to do that next week when they're back.
Yeah.
So
perfect. I'll do that
now. Super. Okay.
Well,
look, have a good one, guys, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Sorry, Kevin. Sorry.
Now,
are you saying that we should have received our tickets and that by now?
No. I've booked the ticket. So if you ask me to get you a ticket, then I have got a ticket. So I've got one. So everyone asked me. So did you ask me, Brian?
No. Like Nick had already brought one, but I've not heard anything from them, apart from the confirmation email that the order had gone through, and that's it.
I do have the list of everyone that's come through. So if you can email me as well, Brian.
Okay.
And then I'll have a look over the weekend at the list to make sure you're on the list.
What are the cost of the tickets these days, then, Kevin?
They were 195 plus the VAT. They're now 245 plus the VAT. So if you've, I think you ordered one off me, didn't you, Brian? Damien, that you asked.
I don't know if I did. I was going to, but I don't know. If you've got me down, I'll take one. If you've not got me down, I'll have to buy one.
I will. I thought you were on my list of people that said they were. So
I thought I might have tried to contact you about it, but I couldn't remember if I got hold of you.
I think you did. Yeah, I think when I did my list, you were on the list. So
brilliant. No, that's great. Yeah, no problem. Brian, just so you know, I had an email this morning saying that the discretionary grant round 3's opened. I don't know. You're probably the only person other than myself it might apply to. For people with no business rates.
Yeah, Brian?
Round 3. Yeah, I'm just making a note of it.
Okay.
Cheers, Damien.
It's all right. I got mine automatically because I was on round 2. But for through the New Forest, it's worth £1,048. So
cool.
Yeah.
Right, I'll see you later. Cheers, guys.
See you.
See
Take
ya.
care.
Cheers,
Bye.
thanks.
Right.
Okay,
Thanks.
lovely. Take care.
Thanks.
I hope you get back okay.
Yeah, fingers crossed. By next weekend I'll be home, but
Yeah,
not guaranteed yet.
safe trip. Take care.
Bye.